Hey guys, Tony here, and I'm here to respond to Joseph O'Donnell's thread questions. He took the time to respond to my thread, so I promised him that um, I would respond to his. He did a great job with his review of Brothers by the Black Keys. I know he spent a lot of time on that, man. I appreciate that. It's really cool. Um, so anyway, let me get down to this. Most overrated artist. I'll probably catch a lot of slack, a lot of heat for this, but spelling, I'm sorry, but I have to say Elvis, and I have to also say I have to throw in two here, U2. Um, First with Elvis, I think what bothers me most about Elvis, like yes, he was a great talent, great singer, and I recognize his historical significance and rock and roll and music history, but it just bothers the hell out of me that the guy didn't write songs. He didn't write his songs. I know there are a lot of pop artists, even today, to this day, that don't write their own music. A lot of people don't. And it's not like just doing a cover here and there. He just did not write music. Also, I know at the time, a lot of people, again, didn't. They had, the Brill Building, who, full of songwriters, just pumping out songs. But to me, the greats have always just written their songs. For me, rock and roll just should always have that. It just seems like a running theme here, but rock and roll should always have that element of do it yourself. Um, I mean, look, the Beatles, Dylan, Jimi Hendrix, everybody. I mean, you name the greats, they wrote their own songs. So I understand that he took a music that was considered, taboo or, black music at then, and I guess made it more acceptable, made it more popular, um, made white kids listen to it. It made white parents more acceptable, their kids buying that music, because buying a record by a black artist was like unacceptable then. So I realized that, and without him, would there be music that we listen to today? I'd say probably, but who knows? So the king of rock and roll thing just bothers the hell out of me. And for my other one, U2, I love U2. I really do. I think they're a fantastic band. I love their first five records or so. And I'm not crazy about their more recent stuff. Yes, they have a good tune here and there, but I just think that they're very overrated now. I think that they're so huge, and I don't know. I guess I just don't get why. I think the lack of good bands that are popular, like in the popular conscience, is just lacking. So these bands that they just grow and grow and grow, and their last tour. I mean, if you read that article in Rolling Stone from I think it was earlier this year, they're they're just their whole touring act. I mean, how many trucks do they need to just move their stage and their lighting system? And it's just, I get they're huge. A lot of people love them, and yes, fine, play in your stadiums, but why not just go out and play your stuff, and just focus more on the music. I have nothing against theatrics and all that on a rock and roll show. I mean, obviously, but I don't know. I just think they're a little overrated, and something about Bono just bothers me. It's almost like his whole trying to save the world thing. I don't know. He takes on these all these causes, and I know a lot of other people do it too, but I don't know. Be a rock and roll musician. Just I don't know. And that's just my personal preference. So yeah, Elvis and U2, most underrated. Again, I have two here. I have to go with. First one being, and of course I know I've mentioned these guys before, but the Replacements. A great, great band in that they just wrote great songs, and just not a lot of people know about them. I mean, it's relative, I guess, but I think more people should know about them. I think these guys should have been bigger than REM, let's say. Um, I think more people are familiar with Husker Du than they are the Replacements. And these guys came up together, Husker Du and the Replacements. But if anything, the reason why they weren't so big was from their own doing. I mean, these guys just did not care. They would show up at shows wasted. They'd just throw their instruments around. They would play at important gigs. They would just play these horrible covers for the whole show. I've read that they've demanded money from the audience to play. They just didn't care. They didn't have all the politics that like Husker Du and the whole hardcore scene had. They just didn't care. But yet they put out some great music, and like I said, they came out of the hardcore scene. Their first EP was Stink, and it's just hardcore. It's fast punk, and it almost didn't suit them. And even with their second release, still hardcore, but they had other elements, and they just gradually became more hardcore to more rock and roll, more power pop later on. And this album is just Let It Be. It's a masterpiece. I think it's one of the greatest rock records ever made. You got everything here. There's elements of hardcore, like they play fast, and it's a lot of punk, but it's also pop. I Will Dare. I mean, that's just I Will Dare and Unsatisfied are probably their most famous songs. But favorite thing, I think every song on here is good. There's ballads. It's just good stuff. So check this out. They also have other great stuff. I have 2 LPs by them. I'd like to get everything. Some of their stuff is kind of hard to come by on vinyl. But if you ever come across an album called Hootenanny, that is just such an eclectic album. There's so much different stuff on there. They have this song. They wrote it about Johnny Thunders, and it was called Johnny's Gonna Die. And it's one of them. Look it up on YouTube. There's a performance clip of them playing it, and it's just one of the most haunting songs ever. I guess they opened for Thunders, and he was just such a mess all the time. And obviously, if you know about Johnny Thunders, he was a horrible heroin addict. But yeah, what a great song. But this album, Let It Be. I mean, I can't praise this album more highly. This one can be kind of hard to come by, but they do have reissues of their later stuff. This is when they were on Twin Tone, so it's kind of difficult to come by some of that stuff. Also, going back to the fact that they just didn't care. I mean, they were just such a funny band. I mean, there's just so much humor involved with them too. Their bass player was 12 years old when they went out on the road. I just think that's just the craziest thing, but just one more little thing there. The other one, and they're actually very similar to the Replacements, I guess, and influenced the Replacements a lot. That's Big Star. If you've never heard of this band, another one I can't recommend more highly. Check these guys out. This album, Radio City, is just fantastic. #1 hit record. Their first album, I believe, is just great too. Their third album I'm not as familiar with. It's Sister Lovers or something. And they only had 3 albums. They formed in 1971. Alex Chitlin, however you say it, he was in the Box Tops, and he was the lead singer of the Box Tops. So if you know their song The Letter, that was him. He actually died this year. But yeah, these guys are just such catchy tunes, and they were just great. Actually, the Replacements had a song called Alex Chitlin, and it's a great song. He actually plays on it as well. These guys weren't big when they were around. It wasn't until later on that other bands like REM and the Replacements really started giving them their due. So they were around the early 70s. They broke up in 74, 75. And I think they actually got bigger in the 80s. But anyway, Big Star. Check them out. Great band. Okay, so how do I keep track of my music collection? Like everybody else pretty much, I have an Excel spreadsheet where I wrote down the artist, the album name, the record label, the release number, the condition, the any little notes about it, whether it's reissue, and just other things like that. I color code it. If it's a copy I want to replace, or if I have a double, I highlight the line. So yeah, record pet peeves. One pet peeve I definitely have is, this is probably a bad example, but when you open, I keep my records. I know this is from another thread, but excuse me. I do put my records in from the top of the plastic sleeve, and I also do keep my record sleeves open at the top while inside, but I'm actually considering moving it so that it'll slide out so the opening is at the side, because when you pull the album out, a lot of times it gets caught on that little fold that's glued at the seam, and I have a hard time getting the record in there in the sleeve, so that's a pet peeve of mine. Another one is just, I can't say, it's just bad vinyl, Covers, I guess they start meaning more and more to me as time goes on. At first I just didn't care as long as the vinyl was in decent condition. But my early records, I bought some dollar records that would just beat to hell, and I just didn't know what I was doing. I still have some of them. A lot of them I want to find replacement copies. So, yeah, so I guess that's my pet peeves. Has my taste in music changed since joining YouTube? I would have to say yes, it has. I mean, there's been so many great bands that a lot of you guys have turned me on to. I would say in the way that it's changed is my tastes have almost always leaned towards the more commercial side of music, and I've just been discovering a lot more underground bands. For example, the record store that I go to, I sent out a bulletin just with a video clip from them. They kind of they're right around the corner a bit from my house, basically, and they specialize in underground music. And I'd spend hours going through their stuff. I'm always in there, and I gotta say, in their new records, I don't know what 75% of that stuff is. But as I watch your guys' videos, I recognize album covers, and I go back and watch. I'm like, I'm gonna check those guys out. Same thing with ordering stuff online. I mean, I've just discovered so many different bands now, and it's been great. I mean, really. So yeah, that's how it's changed. I think I kind of went out of order there, but my first record, I cannot tell you. My first records, I got in a stack as a gift, so I have no idea. Even my first record, when I really started buying them and getting more into collecting, I couldn't tell you that either. Do I think I need to cut down? Definitely, especially right now. I think I've decided that I'm not gonna buy a record through the month of December. So until I get to 2011, I want to not buy any records. When I get my income tax return, I'll probably go nuts, but we'll see what happens then. Definitely need to cut down. Sometimes I think Dan mentioned online buying, and it's just so easy. You're not handing over cash or even handing over a card. It's just, you just click and you bought it. It's too easy, and it's very dangerous. It's also dangerous having my favorite record store 5 minutes from my house. But anyway, have you ever bought a double? I don't think so. I know I've come close. I think I actually had a record in my hand one time, and I was gonna pay for it, and I'm like, I think I have this, but I wasn't sure, so I said I'm gonna put it back and I'll double check, and it turned out to be right. But I do have doubles in my collection, but it's not from buying them, just stuff I've come across, or I've bought small lots of things that were just, I guess I do have to say I have bought them twice, but I knew that I did it. Most recent album purchase. I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm going to post a video, another recent vinyl editions video, because I went to my record store yesterday morning. I got up bright and early and went for Black Friday exclusives and just big sale that they had. At 6 a.m. the store was packed, so I'm going to do a video showing that stuff. And I think I've covered all of them. Yeah, so again, guys, thanks for watching. Joseph, thanks for